and they can get an associate's degree or get the certification, and then they could go and work at Eli Lilly and make $50,000 a year starting salary, which I'm sorry to say is way above what a teacher would make as a starting salary. And this is also plus benefits. This is one of the really important ways that we address poverty in our community, is by people having a wage where they can sustain themselves and their families. And so there are all types of degrees: operators, maintenance, engineering, maintenance, warehouse, administrative support, utilities, crews, and they all go up from 50, about almost 50, to over 67,000 starting. So these are really good jobs. We need to make sure that Durham residents are prepared for and connected to these jobs. And then there's also a very significant state. Andy, if you could go remind us, what is the state contributing to this?
Approximately $9 million, is that correct? Yeah, just under, maybe 8.9, it's shy of 9 million.
And some of that is specifically for job training, is that right? Is that some of it JDIG, or is it specifically
There's probably a customized training component to that for company employees.
I think it was 1.2 million of that was specifically for training, with partnering with the community college system.
Right, and just to clarify, the customized training dollars, if that is indeed the amount in the program, are directed for company employees as part of their onboarding and entry into company positions.
Okay. All right. So look forward to Eli Lilly being a part of the Durham community and being a role model for other companies. And Mr. Broderick, you'll follow up with the county manager and staff as well with your proposal we can consider in the future.
Madam Chair, I would move approval of the item.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Reckow, seconded by Commissioner Carter. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the item is unanimously approved. Okay. So other business were our directives, which we did not discuss at our work session. So any directive items that commissioners would like to discuss?
Madam Chair, when we approved the minutes of some past meetings, I think it may have been at our last meeting, it was a work session back, I think, in November. There was a discussion, I think it's highlighted in the directives, that we need to follow up on the issue of transportation demand management within county government, and look specifically at the whole issue of paid parking, particularly in our decks for county employees. I did note at a recent meeting that I learned from the Director of Transportation for the city that city employees do pay for parking, and there's a gradient, lower rate for surface parking and a higher rate for deck parking. So I just want to raise it because we learned when we approved the project, the first agreement for the projects on the 300 and 500 blocks of East Main, that we will be deciding on a key agreement this summer that also includes tying down the parking for the 500 block. And to be ready to do that, I do think we've got to look at what we can do proactively to better manage our demand within county government. So I just wanted to highlight that directive. I'm not sure how much work's been done since November, but just to say the clock's ticking and I wanted to highlight it.
And I'll underscore Ellen's highlight. I agree. I was at the Environmental Affairs Board meeting on Monday night, and Perry did a great job of presenting to them the information about the 300 redevelopment project. And they just had a lot of input on the desire to decrease parking within the 300, much less try to right-size it in the 500. So I know there's, if they were making recommendations to us, they would also be underscoring what you said about needing to manage our demand better.
That was on my list as well. So, Commissioner Hill?
Sure, I agree. We should try to make our community more walkable, but this is somewhat, I think, regressive. If we look at the demographic of our workforce from the county, we're dealing with a lot of moms, right? A lot of single moms, right? And to require them to pay for parking, I think, would be unfair, right? Public transit is not good enough in Durham for them to get up, get kiddo to school, then get back downtown and get to work. So I understand, the overall public good that you're trying to achieve, but I think if we look at our employees, I think it's a bit regressive, and I think I think free parking is important.
We could debate the merits of each different initiative later, but we do need staff to bring us back options.
And I think it was March, wasn't, Mr. Manager, wasn't the plan it would be on our March work session that we would be, staff would be coming back to us with, I think we had agreed on a certain, I know we said we would need it in time for.
Yes, Commissioner, we can provide you an update in March. Again, it would just be an update, particularly talking about the work that has been done with Go Triangle, the City of Durham, any feedback that we get back from the Environmental Affairs Board. As I stated previously, there is a lot of work going on. We actually have another meeting scheduled, I think, on the 24th with various departments, as well as Go Triangle in the City of Durham, to talk about some of these potential incentives or potential reductions that we could possibly make. Again, that has to be vetted with IS&T, with HR. Other departments have to sort of give us the nod on some of these ideas. And again, like I say, we could come in March with an update, but again, please understand that we're truly trying to flush some of these potential solutions out. And so, again, it would be an update.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Howard, Tim.
I agree with Mr. Hill when we talk about beginning to charge our employees for parking. We just got them to a compensation, to a competitive salary, and then to turn around and take it away by having to make them pay for parking, I think it's kind of inhumane. So if when we go into this conversation, we need to consider who we're charging for parking. And our employees work too hard for us to start to do that.
So we'll hear back from staff in March, and we'll talk about the details then. I think the main thing was just making sure we keep this on our radar. Thank you. Okay. Any other items that people saw in the directives that they want to follow up on? Commissioner Carter.
Did anyone else have trouble seeing the directives? I used to be able to see them. Anyway, if no one did, I'll follow up with the IT team after, but there's something weird going on.
Yeah, I'm having problems with that, I guess.
Did.
Yeah.
Like I hit the link and it goes to the spreadsheet, lead-in page, and then it just disappears.
Oh, wow. Okay. I did not have any trouble. Did anyone else have trouble?
I did.
I
as
just
well.
followed
You had trouble too?
Drew's link.
Okay. So 3 people did.
It may be something with my iPad, like I haven't had service or something, I don't know. Okay.
Okay, well,
While we're on directives, could I
Yes,
raise
yes.
a directive to,
mhm.
based on something we learned at joint city-county planning committee meeting last week that Brenda, Wendy, and I were at? We learned that the consultant on Engage Durham has been let go. And I would just be curious, because we contributed a lot of extra money.
We got some follow-up information about that, maybe after you left.
Okay,
But
but
there's really only about 50,000 left, and that money is going to be used for the actual ambassadors program, which is very cost-intensive, and translators, childcare, helping people that we're trying to reach, paying
okay,
the
so
ambassadors.
I would like
so-
then an accounting of how much we spent on the consultant that was discharged. Can we get that, please? Thank you.
So, any other directives? Nobody else could see them. Okay, so I'm just going to touch on some of the ones that seem to need follow-up. There were some follow-ups about data. One was trying to get data related to pre-K data from Durham Public Schools. Drew, and where are we at with that?
So Linda and I meet regularly and talk about how Durham Pre-K is going, and that specific request has been one that she has, brought repeatedly to their attention. The last I spoke with Linda last week, she was pretty sure that Dr. Hardy was going to help her get that information. So it is important, I think you understand this, that we need to make sure that all of the funding and the efforts are cumulative and rising. Title I funding that's going to pre-K, for example, we're not trying to supplant I think that's the right word, as we try to increase our effort to help add pre-K into all the elementaries.
Okay, thank you. Could you keep us posted on that? And
I
then,
will. It'll stay in yellow until we.
okay. The other issue I saw was related to some of the data that we've requested from the Office of the Sheriff, jail data numbers, and also since the mental health pod for women has not been implemented, how that money is being reallocated for 10 positions.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Yeah.
We've asked several times for the data from the Sheriff's Office as requested by the board. Going back to last fall, we received some initial data that was in a spreadsheet format that we were unable to decipher, and have followed up several times to get assistance in that data. Have yet to receive that data in a form that we can use and understand. We are meeting with the Sheriff and his team later on this week, talk about this issue and a few other follow-up issues. And so we will remind them of the board's interest and desire to receive the data. Regarding the mental health female pod, that's also on our list to follow up and have discussions on. I don't know the status of that implementation at this point.
So, following up on Commissioner Jacobs' question, which was a really good one, I hope that from Thursday's meeting, we will also learn what the status of the funds are that were allocated for the mental health pod. Are they still available in the budget, or were they spent in another way?
The 13 positions are still available within the budget.
So they haven't,
So they have not
those
been-
resources have not been used?
They have not been filled that I'm aware of, and this was going back a few weeks when we looked at the vacancy data.
Okay. Well, I just hope we can get to an understanding as it relates to communication between the sheriff and the county board, and particularly when we ask direct questions. So thank you.
And I guess the other one was that we actually came up at our joint city-county meeting was related to the work plan, the future work plan for the planning department. And we discussed whether moving forward with something like the Flat River Open Space Plan, and just kind of the fact that the planning department has not had an environmental or open space planner in quite a while, and
Well,
whether that might get incorporated into maybe with the comprehensive land use plan update, but just acknowledging that, you know, that is something that's lagged. It was on our directives, actually, so, yeah.
Well, I agree. I am very concerned that out of 49 staff members in the city-county planning department, there is no open space planner, and actually on the to-do list, there's 16 future items that were made priorities by either the city or the county a few years ago. And the development of an open space plan for the Flat River is number 16, and it's just been there for a long, long time. So, but without a planner, I don't know how it would get done.
And we used to have one before James.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an issue for the county, and we were also made aware of the split between what time they spend on city work and time they spend on county work, and it's about 70% on city work and 30% on county work.
And we're splitting the cost 50-50.
Is that an ILA? Is that an interlocal agreement? One of the big.
It is an interlocal agreement that is currently under examination, and all of those interlocal agreements are under review right now, and will be incorporated for some additional recommendations in respect to those splits as we move forward with the 2021.
Okay. And I really could not remember what we decided about our plans for the old DSS building. How we left that conversation.
You'll let us know.
That was also in the directives.
Yeah,
Harry?
Commissioner, at our last conversation, I think back in the retreat, was it back in November? You authorized Jay and I to move forward with getting DFI to do a pre-development process, similar to what we did with 300 and 500. We're awaiting that proposal. We've reviewed the scope of work with them, so as soon as we get that proposal and once it's fully vetted, we'll be bringing that forward to you guys for approval. So that is our path moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is the separation between the two buildings happening right now? Is that the work that's happening?
We actually had to hold off on that contingent upon what we do with DSS Main.
Okay.
We are afraid to separate the utilities, not knowing what we're actually going to do in the long term. And so once we make a decision on that, we'll be able to move forward with the separation.
Okay, so the work that's going on right now outside the building, that's something totally different.
That is general services doing maintenance on the gutter system. That does not have anything to do with the work we're doing.
All right.
inside.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so Commissioner Carter.
I couldn't follow the link, but did think of 5 agenda items that I feel like are things we've had on our agenda but haven't seen move forward yet, or I just don't know where we are with them. So I don't necessarily need an answer to every one of these, but I thought I'd like to at least throw them out there. Maybe some of them could be answered easily, I don't know. One is the quarterly management reports. I don't remember seeing one in a while.
Got one in the fall for the first quarter.
Well, we can let
The second
manager
quarter may not
respond.
be available.
Mr. Manager,
Based on the last conversation we had, we are producing the quarterly management report.
Out quarterly? Semi-annual report, or wondering what we can expect? Because. And also, in the last year's budget, we had money for a transit position, a racial equity officer, an early childhood system coordinator. I know I think we're in the process of hiring an early childhood systems coordinator, because I asked about it earlier, but I don't know anything about the transit position or the racial equity officer position. And, it's almost time to start 2021 budget, so wondering where we are with those.
So, Joanne, I think you want to talk about the racial equity one. I can essentially tell you while Joanne's coming to the microphone, the transit position is being advertised, and that's where we are at present, that particular position. Joanne will talk about the racial equity position.
Good evening, Commissioners. The racial equity officer posting closed about a week and a half ago, and we're in the process of reviewing those and scheduling interviews this month, so that someone hopefully will come on board in March. Great.
And then the interlocal agreement with the city regarding the sales tax, is that one of the interlocal agreements?
The interlocal agreement with the sales tax, on the sales tax, the city manager and I are in discussions regarding that particular item, and subsequently a correspondence is going back to him this week regarding that, and we hope to have some negotiations between now and the time that we have to wrap up this issue in respect to making a decision to let the state know what we're actually split.
I can't hear you, Mr. Manager. Would you repeat that?
I was just simply saying that where we are on that interlocal agreement discussion on the sales tax is essentially here. There's a correspondence going back to the city manager this week, and subsequently we hope between now and the mid-March we will be able to negotiate during that period, or at least get an answer in respect to where we are, because we obviously have an April deadline in terms of what we will have to notify the state of regarding the split. And so that's where we are now.
Oh, okay, I see right here, just the regular exit door.
So, Mr. Manager, I'm going to suggest that you provide, since that item is so important, to provide briefings to everyone on that and keep everyone posted on that, since that's a really critical issue.
We'll do it at our March one-on-one briefing.
And then the other agenda item that I'm interested in and hope for it is feasibility study for the implementation of our 100% energy. Gone anywhere?
Commissioners, I know that Tobin Freed is in the process of completing or formulating an RFQ to go out to engage that consultant. Quite honestly, I need to get an update from her on where she is, but I know she is working on that. So
Happening in some fashion.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Barry.
Okay. Next item we have is our resolution on the Triangle Trails Initiative. And I'll let you, Commissioner Reckow, you and I were both at that meeting, and with the manager and Jane Correst from our staff, and Patrick Young from the planning department. I'll let you fill everybody in on that.
Okay. We were invited to a meeting that Sig Hutchinson from Wake County and Chuck Flink, who's a open space and trails consultant in the area, and he's president of Greenways Incorporated, that's his consulting firm. They came to Durham to meet with us and our staff about an initiative that would be a multi-county regional Trails and Greenway initiative. And he pointed out that there's 2 other regional initiatives in the state, one in the Charlotte area and one north of there, kind of in the Triad area. And our initiative would basically, if all the counties they're targeting became involved, it would connect to the Trails Initiative to the west of us. And the vision, basically, it's very positive, would be that they want to engage the private sector in helping to fund greenways and trails. And so the goal would be to not necessarily seek public dollars for the initiative. They're raising private dollars to do the plan. And so we're not being asked for any money. We're just being asked to agree to participate in the sense of having our 299 square miles part of this regional planning process. Might be periodic interaction with Jane Corrist as our open space planner, but it didn't seem to be an onerous burden at all. She was there. So we all pretty much nod our heads. The manager was in attendance, and Jane Corrist, and Wendy and me. Chuck Flink, for those who don't know him, did the plan for the American Tobacco Trail a long, long time ago. I worked with him on that in the sense that I was on an advisory committee that worked on that plan, and he did a great job. So he has a long track record in this field. He actually has just come out with a book on greenways. So a lot of bona fides, and I think it's great that he wants to take this on and try to really create a broad system so that, and I think it's key, if you look at the resolution, this is not just about recreation, it's about transportation, and it's a great way for people to get to work or school. So creating a network of trails can be an economic boost in addition to enhancing health and recreational opportunities, et cetera. So, and the resolution does cover those points.
And I just wanted to add, I had also sent out to everyone today, I wanted to add an additional whereas to that, which I will read. I don't know if everyone has seen it. Now I'm trying to find where I saw, here it is. I really wanted to emphasize that what I thought was missing from the resolution is that, bike and pedestrian paths are also about transportation and connecting people to work and education and wherever else that they need to go. And we know that, biking is an affordable, accessible means of transportation for people. And so we need to be increasing that equitable access to greenways and bikeways and as a means of transportation for people, not just for recreation. And also, I wanted to add something referring to the fact that this is one of the ways that we can address climate change and congestion on our roads, reduce carbon emissions, and I didn't think that was really addressed in the resolution. So
The second whereas does talk about transportation and accessibility and economic benefits, but I thought your wording was good, and you did have a couple points in that aren't covered here, like emphasizing off-road paths, and so I don't have a problem with adding that in at someplace in the resolution.
Okay. So I would, any other questions or comments? Commissioner Carter?
So I think this is super exciting, and just really agree that it's a number of our cross-cutting goals, all the ones you've already mentioned, you guys have already mentioned. One question I would have is, as this moves along and we are doing this sort of regional planning, hopefully designing, linking up, undeveloped landscapes, looking at the Get Resolved clause, how will we try to follow our blueprint for equitable engagement? Have we had any talk about that, or how will this integrate with sort of our local? I know there's a lot of emphasis on equitable engagement of all communities that are affected, and so I'm just wondering if there was any discussion of that. I think that'll be an important thing to consider.
We did not discuss that, but it's a good point. I think we could bring that up. I find with these kinds of things that getting just some draft out that people could react to, and we need to remember these will be, I think they're going to be ones that are along major. They'll be connecting links. So these will be long routes probably that go from county to county. I know there's talk right now, for example, of trying to get an off-road path even along I-40, just to give you an example. So it wouldn't be right along the road, but offset, so that people could get across the region conceivably by bike. But so all I'm saying is it's going to be, they're not going to be taking people from neighborhoods to their local elementary school or high school, I don't believe. It's going to be those bigger connecting links, or doing what American Tobacco Trail does in terms of that cuts across 3 counties. It goes from Durham into Chatham and then Wake. Yeah, so.
Yeah, but the American Tobacco Trail also does run through a lot of neighborhoods.
Because the old rail bed did, yeah.
Anyway, I'm just thinking there might be opportunities for engaging communities around the link.
Right.
line.
Well, definitely. And I mean, another railroad that we may eventually get access to would be the one that goes north and goes up into northern Durham and on into Person County. There's a wonderful railroad bed there. So, and to the degree that it does go near neighborhoods, involving them very early on in the planning, which is what happened with the American Tobacco Trail. We actually used to meet, I remember going to meetings in the community room at Woodcroft because the trail went right by the side of eastern edge of
I live
Wood.
off of milepost 6.
Okay, well, it went right by.
Yeah, and there's
Woodcroft.
also the trail that goes from Apex all the way to East Durham, which we saw recently on that trail, on the trip.
Well, I just
Yeah,
bring this up.
it's a good
because
point. It's a very good point.
It's a common topic of discussion at the BPAC meetings, full engagement of the communities. What's the big belt line the city's working on?
The Duke Belt
Yeah,
line.
the Duke Belt line. I mean, that was, there was concern that it was going to lead to gentrification and displacement because it was an investment, so we just need to, I feel like we need to be sure that somehow or another, as this moves forward, and I want it to, that, we involve as many stakeholders as possible, and particularly those we might not normally hear
Well, we can recommend, I think it's already, I mean, Chuck knows the Durham scene because he worked so closely here years ago, but
He lives in Durham.
yeah, that I'll recommend that he work both with DOST and with BPAC, Bike
And
Pit,
Bike Durham.
and,
Bike
yeah, Bike Durham, because all of those would be great groups, and then to have periodic public meetings for discussion of these initiatives, obviously.
Commissioner Howerton?
I just have a quick question for, I don't know, if the manager or for you, Ellen. And looking and reading through this, I can't determine, is it, who's the designated county that's responsible for it?
There isn't one. So all the counties are equal, we're all partners, and the person, the connecting link will actually be this Triangle Trails Initiative, which will be a separate group headed up by Chuck Flink that will be raising money. So they're going to be their own nonprofit, raising money and leading the initiative. But
So there, it talks about a foundation, but it really doesn't give someone that doesn't have a background or any information about this as to where is the point person or the point organization. Just have a little bit of problem with who's going to be responsible for it.
well, on the cover page, it does say that Chuck Flink, president of Greenways Incorporated, is the point person.
On the resolution, it doesn't say
That,
that.
it says it on the cover, the agenda action form.
I mean, the purpose of this is just a first step of going around to many, many counties and just getting everyone to say, yeah, this is a great idea, and we don't have to put up any money, but you can form this foundation and raise money and then come back and help us build trails and greenways in our communities. So it's really, and he gave examples of where this has been done in other parts of the country, and totally without, foundations and private sector money coming in and helping counties to build infrastructure like this. And that's the vision of just really, just like we have roads connecting counties in our state, the idea of having an alternative system that will help a lot of rural counties really need things like this, can really help them with economic development. And so it's really just a first step. But these are all great questions, and certainly, Ellen, you can follow up with what some of the questions that our board had related to.
approve this resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll second it.
All right. Can we add the whereas that I suggested? Okay. So moved by Commissioner Carter,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Reckow. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the resolution is passed. With Ellen, you're going to follow up on some of the concerns that you heard
Okay.
about equitable engagement and also exactly how is this
Yeah,
all going to work?
I'm just indifferent about it because I don't get the essence of it. So I guess I'm not gonna vote on it because I don't get it. So, yeah, I didn't vote.
You
got to vote.
So I vote
You have to
no.
vote. Okay.
I don't get the essence of it at all. So
Then
I vote no.
you're voting no? Okay, do we need to revote then? Because
4-1.
do I need to take the vote again?
Yeah.
I think it's 4-1.
Okay, all right. Okay, so 4-1 with Commissioner Howerton voting no. Okay, so we now have a closed session item. Board is requested to adjourn into closed session to discuss matters relating to location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body, including agreement on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body in negotiations pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A4.
I move we go into closed session for the reasons stated.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Commissioner Reckow. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we're unanimously adjourned to closed session. We have adjourned from closed session and given direction to staff. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, wait. We actually, before we adjourn, Commissioner Hill would like an excused absence from our work session on March 2nd. He's going to be at the NACO conference.
So moved.
that we excuse for that meeting.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Commissioner Reckow. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? You are unanimously excused from that meeting. And I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Reckow, seconded by Commissioner Hill. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're unanimously adjourned.